Hello, everybody. Welcome to our episode. Tonight, we are talking about perception is reception. So we have a whole conversation around, what is it when we are looking out at the world and we see problems or we have complaints or whatever. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at. The other thing that we're looking at is where you have, I can't, or well, I can't do that because blah, blah, blah. Well, and you have all the reasons why not. So one of the things that my dad used to say is you either have everything you want in life or all the reasons why you don't. So one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is what is it about our perception of our world and what's that a reflection of, or what is it that that impacts our experience? And then what really is going on? What's really the challenge in original thinking for you to live your life powerfully and live a life you love? So welcome, Betty.
Hi. I think one of the best statements you just made was, what is it for you? Because it should be clear that no two people see the same thing. Mm-hmm. You see it from within who you're being. You live the world as you are. You have no idea how it is.
Right.
We do everything as we are. We live ourselves fully, whether we're conscious of it or not. Right. And the more unconscious you are, the more you are a victim of your circumstances.
Yep. So this is all featured by or sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science, and our website right there is up on the screen. So please visit the website. You can see the different programs that we have and all of the things that we offer, as well as any materials that we're going to be quoting. You can purchase them through there if you're interested in more information. So we're a nonprofit, so any support, we're all for it. All right. So continuing on, that was the commercial. So continuing on, how can we manage ourselves in dealing with daily concerns or problems?
Well, number one, you need to look at this thing called perception, because perception is unique to you, given your background, your belief systems, the training you've had, the influences that have come in. You have formed a perceptual world that you walk through that may or may not resemble anything anybody else has ever heard of. But what you need to know about it is that your perception dictates and shapes your experience of living. So you don't want to ignore it. You want to pay attention.
Right. Yep. And what Margaret Laird said in CSR is perception is reception. This does not mean reception in the sense of receiving something perceived, but in the sense that perception includes the perceiver and perceived as identity. So Say a little bit more about that, like take that apart a little bit for us.
Well, in human living, we have this human paradox of both extremes, right and wrong, good and bad, rich and poor, sick and well, and everything in between constitutes the way we see our language of understanding, the way I understand the way my world functions. I look around and I think some things are good and some things are bad. Some things are right, some things are wrong. Some days I feel good, some days I don't feel so good. Right. All of that is part of the human paradox of living. And the way I see it is my perception. Yeah. And the experience that I feel that I have that determines the way life is going to go for me this moment is my perception. If I think everything's awful and terrible and falling apart, my experience is going to be very cautious and very wary and suspicious of everything and careful, ultra careful, because I don't want to be a victim.
Right.
And so what science has gotten me to look at is I have something to say about my perception. And one of the things that I learned very quickly from Mrs. Laird when I worked with her was that she would say often, well, that's the way it looks. It's not the way it is. And so I'd stop and think, oh, that's the way it looks. If I see it that way, I'm going to live it that way.
Right.
But if I can see that it may look like that, but something else is causative there, and I can look at what's generating that, then I have to go even deeper and see that there is really only one generative presence in the universe, and it's what I've called the God idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the God idea has it going on, great. I don't need to do anything to fix it. I need to leave it alone.
Okay. Now, if we look at this from the standpoint of making a case for something. So here in my living, I've got something and I'm on, I've just got a perception and I'm making a case. So in other words, if I think, if I've made up my mind about someone that they are a particular way, I'll start looking for evidence that will support my view of that thing, right?
And why don't you be specific?
Well, I'm trying to think of a good one.
Have an experience with your sister.
Yeah. So anyways, making a case for someone being a particular way. And I don't want to use artist, but what I want to do is it's like there's anything you have, like if I know there's a certain kind of bad driver and it's a certain kind of person and I just know they're a bad driver. I've never seen them drive, but I know they're a bad driver. Every time I see something and I check out and I'll say, see, they're a bad driver. See, they're a bad driver. So what I'm getting at is that what we pay attention to ends up shaping our experience. So, and it's the thing that I'm looking at is when we pay our attention to our devotion of thought, our motivations become very clear. So say a little bit more about that, because I think that we kind of automatically fall into this pattern, and you could say that automaticity isn't actually thinking. It's more like it's thinking us than we're doing any kind of thinking, right? So what's the kind of devotion of thought that we're talking about here that then makes it really clear our motivations? So give me some more on that one, like unpack that a little bit.
Well, devotion of thought is not really as simple as it sounds. Doesn't mean that I have to concentrate and put effort on thinking something. But what it does to me is say, wait a minute, science says all is infinite mind. And I know that mind action is thought. So it's if I think that Betty is a thinker, I'm going to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can recognize that thinking is going on and it's not the Betty thing, because Betty can have stuff going on about something she observes, but no original thought goes on with Betty.
Right.
So any original thinking is mind present functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can acknowledge that and have the thinking that's original, generative, creative, problem solving, freeing, that's not personal. That's not Betty doing a darn thing.
Right.
It's really Betty shutting up and allowing the thinking presence that has Betty occur in the first place. That thinking presence provides the whole atmosphere, the whole environment
Mm-hmm.
for the world I walk through. And when I'm clear on that, I'm problem free.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
problems I have are problems that Betty generates, believing that something is happening to her or for her or because of her, all around Betty. When
Yeah.
I leave Betty alone, the thinking going on is clearly not that Betty thing doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking is always active, always present, always powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So when I shut Betty up, great things happen.
Right. So let's take a look at another quote here from Christian Science Reexplored. Perception is the science that spiritually evaluates wants and desires and thus demonstrates a self-fulfilling wholeness beyond one's fondest hopes.
Yep. Same thing I've just been talking about.
I know, it sounds like it. So it's not about not having wants or hopes or having thoughts and human thinking and all the stuff that we do every single day. It's misinterpreting the source. Can I say it that way?
When you just said that, another thought came through. What is abundantly clear is that perfection is just all around, all the time. And the thinking that has perfection present is the source of what's going on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I have a thought about it, that means Betty has stepped into the picture and is going to figure it out.
Right.
And that's when I stumble. When I can leave Betty alone and say, wait a minute, there's just one thing going on. Intelligence functioning is absolutely right on right now, whether I know it or not. That's what's going on.
Right.
But I'm more likely to enjoy it if Betty isn't gumming up the works.
Right.
So then I can leave Betty alone and just listen. It's amazing because the answers are always there.
Yeah.
And then I remember that I was taught a long time ago, the solutions are always present before the problem arises. And the reason for the problem is to highlight the solution so you'll see it.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when you have Betty be quiet and listen.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a little bit, let's take another tack here. Let's look at another quote, and it's more about prayer. So a lot of times when things happen and we're faced with circumstances, and they're not circumstances that we ever would want. In fact, there are circumstances where maybe an emergency arises or something like that. We might think, oh, please, 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 and this whole thing about prayer. And so what CSR says, man does not pray. Man is the prayer. The understanding of thine, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty.
Yeah.
So I wanted to look at this and say, and have a little bit about that, because a lot of times we think when we're praying, we actually don't get that who we are is the prayer.
Yeah. And the effort to pray is a human activity.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's wonderful about that, because we all get into that, believe it or not, but the thing about that is that if I can desire it, if I can have something that I really wish I had,
right?
If I can even envision it or come up with it mentally, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anything like that already exists. And so the prayer is answered before I'm through with the prayer.
Yeah.
So anything that you can imagine or envision or whatever, desire, is already present. You just have to allow it to show up.
Yes, exactly. And if you're listening, you'll actually know exactly what there is to do.
Yeah.
So now the next one So what you said is, I think this is what you said, prayer is mind action or
Right.
being. Prayer is not doing something. Even though it might look like we're doing something,
Sure.
prayer is actually mind action or just being. And being,
Yeah, it's
is it
the
being
functioning of
present?
mind.
Is it being consciously present, consciously aware? Or prayer is man, period.
If I show up, prayer is present.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a whole distinction that we could do a whole another 30 minutes on probably.
Not
So that's
tonight.
just a tidbit to think on and noodle on.
Yeah.
All right. So then we go into Mary Baker Eddy, Science and Health. A human perception of divine science, however limited, must be correct in order to be science and subject to demonstration. What does that mean? So really decipher that one for me.
Well, you have the comment often made, let's be real. What's your perception of reality? Is it accurate? If it's accurate, you're right on.
Mm-hmm.
If it's based on something you've been humanly observing and involving yourself with and believing in and manipulating, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
probably nothing wonderful will occur out of that. Because
Right.
that's all human conjecture stuff.
Right.
So that's really what that sentence is talking about.
Okay. So step back from whatever my beliefs, opinions, concerns, all that stuff is. Step back, get really in touch with who I am.
Yeah, you want to
And
be
then I'm
correct.
lined up. So what it's talking about is alignment with the facts of being.
It's accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I
If
say
you're
all,
accurate in your
Yeah.
perception.
it's accurate. It's not only accurate, it's absolute. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for instance, when you said, I'll never forget this because I go back to it over and over. When you said all is infinite mind. Now, what do you think all is? And it's like all of a box of cereal? Or is it all? And it's all. And we want to kind of negotiate that sometimes.
Nothing left out.
Right. But
No
sometimes
vacancy.
in our living, we want to negotiate it. You know
I
what I'm
know.
saying? Like
All the
just
time.
over here, I can own this. Yeah, I get this, but over here, no. But if you really grapple with the absoluteness of it, all would be everything.
I had a friend years ago who used to, she always wanted somebody she appeared in public a lot, number one, but she always wanted somebody to help her look just so on the stage. So she would tell them, you can do everything that needs to be done till you get down to my ankles and leave that alone below the ankles, because she wanted to wear comfortable shoes. And so when we were discussing something about this idea that you're talking about right now, it just seems to me like if you are consciously aware of the source and condition of your own being, which has all got to be mind oriented, the God idea in action, you wouldn't have to make any exceptions at all.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't have to pull anything out and say, don't touch that.
Right. There
You have
isn't
to be
anything like
accurate.
that. Yeah.
But you don't have to do a pick and choose with the picture.
Right. So here's another one that I think is pretty fun. Truth is affirmative and confers harmony. All metaphysical logic is inspired by the simple rule of truth, which governs all reality. So here it is. Truth is affirmative and confers harmony. So I'm to take that everything that I'm experiencing, whether I perceive it as discord and upset or whatever, is all harmony and for my good.
Yeah, and you can't predicate your human reactionary response to that because you're talking about the God idea. Truth is a synonym for the God idea in scientific metaphysics. So if I'm saying truth is affirmative, I'm saying the God idea is yes. Okay. And it confers harmony. Well, I've got a picture of harmony, but then with my picture of harmony, I have disharmony telling me what harmony is all about. It's not talking about that. It's talking about absolute positive presence is harmony. Has nothing to do with my view of what that should look like.
Right.
But I can trust it if I'm accurate as to what's actually present, truth. Then I don't have to be concerned about how it looks or what I have an opinion about or whatever. Right. If I leave it alone to the degree that I'm able to leave it alone, in other words, I'm free. When I have to meddle with it, I give myself problems.
Right. Now, if you guys all have any questions at all, you can ask questions. It comes up. We'll address any of them. There's a little bit of a time delay, but go ahead and type in your questions, type in your comments so that we can engage with y'all. So we've now given you a lot of meaty things to think about. So go ahead and type. I know that you guys have some questions. So go ahead and type them in. Let's get some conversation going. All right. Next one. Mind alone possesses all faculties, perception, and comprehension. So mind alone possesses all faculties. What are faculties?
See, hear, feel, taste, touch, which look like human sensations, are faculties of mind.
Okay. Perception.
Yeah.
So mind alone possesses all perception.
Yep. Even humanly speaking, if I weren't thinking, there wouldn't be any perception. If I was asleep, you could pass a crayon around, draw on my headboard of my bed and so on. I wouldn't have any knowledge of it at all, would I? I'd have to be awake. I'd have to be perceiving, even humanly speaking.
Okay.
So what it's saying that in science, all of those faculties, including perception and comprehension, which is understanding, all of that is the action of the God idea, and actually is just like prayer. It constitutes man. It isn't something man has to acquire.
Right.
Okay.
And the last one, comprehension, is just understanding.
Yep.
All of that. Excellent. Okay. Divine intelligence sources, constitutes, and constructs all existence. And that's basically what we just said.
Yeah.
Just another way to say it or look at it. All right. Now we get down here to some quotes from your book, Mind is the Athlete, Betty. So here we go. Perception is reception, which pre-exists and generates all that is or seems to be. So are you saying perception is pre-exists or reception pre-exists?
Perception is reception.
Right.
Perception
pre-exists.
Yeah. Perception pre-exists and generates. So you're talking about mind action.
Okay. So consciously aware.
Yep. Conscious awareness.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Excellent.
Go ahead.
And language occurs as a view or perception of reality. So when we're talking about when you might be in a conversation and someone says, oh yeah, but let's get real. Let's look at reality here after all. They're talking about their perception of a set of facts or a set of circumstances likely. But reality is mind present, the God idea, right?
Yeah, what that sentence is actually trying to say is the stuff that we see, feel, hear, taste, touch, that in my book I call language. Language is like feedback. It's really a view of my perception of reality. The only thing present is reality. So my language world is my best view of perfection. So when you see that, when you have a sense of that, you recognize that the language you're looking at, the world you're looking at, the stuff you're looking at, the people you're hearing, the TV, the drama all day today, for instance, on TV, is occurring as a perception of reality. And today, the story of the protest group going into the Capitol, I can just see that we have a sense of law and order and right and good. And those perceptions, as much as we honor them, are really not 1, 2, 3 to what law and order and right actually is. But it is. And we are going to stumble around until we have what it takes to identify right in the greatest freedom we can generate for ourselves. So if I, how do I want to say that? For today's picture, for example, with all that stuff going on, I look and I see, in my human living, it's okay for me to theorize that perfection is the ground of being, that all is infinite mind, whole and complete and perfect and so on. But if I think for 1 second that I can get by with relying on Betty to accomplish, to perform, to do anything, to achieve anything, to be helpful, to be whatever, healthy, wealthy, and wise, as a human being, I'm setting myself up for problems upon problems upon problems. And life will look like one damn thing after another. The minute I can leave that Betty thing alone and start saying, wait a minute, there is a universal intelligence present. It is all constituting. Betty has nothing to do with it. She's just got a point of view here. But the being that's present is the source of that universal presence and the source of the Betty look.
Mm-hmm.
So when I can allow that to be, then the Betty experience finds that everything in her life falls into place, and perfection is, in fact, what's showing up bit by bit by bit by bit, and on we go. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're seeing today.
Yeah.
You're seeing a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to think that man is free, that peace and joy and power are present universally for everyone, we pay no attention to all this concern about the world is looking at the United States and saying there is no democracy because it's failing. Well, it isn't failing. What it's doing is waking up and saying, hey, I've been asleep at the switch for a while. And reaffirming what it takes to have freedom, to have joy, to have government that's fair and just and open. And we're seeing what it takes to have that continue.
Yep.
And it takes alertness. It takes vigilance. It takes attention. It's the devotion of thought to what government really is, to what's running the world. And that devotion of thought is what has it occur as peace and joy and power and freedom.
Yep. And so the final little quote we'll kind of talk about here before we end is from your book on page 179. Truth is the omnipresent force that has concepts both appear and disappear when current forms fail to fulfill their purpose of identifying truth.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah, say a little bit more about that, because I think it supports what you have already just said, but yet I wanted to put a nice package around it.
Yeah, well, truth or the God idea is the force that has the pictures all around us. What I see, feel, hear, taste, touch, all of that stuff called concepts. It has them appear and disappear, and current forms fail to fulfill their purpose all the time. And so every moment is a new beginning. Every moment there's a new identifying truth showing up as the world I walk through. And that's what's going on right now in what I call my world, my government, my country, my president, my Congress. I don't have to live in fear and want and neglect and injustice unless it's the only way I can wake up to the facts of being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very good. So the thing that's really cool is that no matter what, forms are constantly appearing, disappearing, and reappearing, appearing, disappearing, and reappearing. And if you get clear, consciously aware of the divinity, who you are, then you can always rest in the knowledge that it's all renewing every moment. Every moment is a new beginning.
It constitutes your being.
Say that again, Mom.
It constitutes your being.
Yeah.
So you can relax.
Right. So there's the good news. All right. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We did get one or a couple comments. We have thanks for this discussion. Great reminders for living in the harmony of God consciousness. And another one, thank you, from Elizabeth. So until next week, we're back and we will be here. We have, again, if you have any questions, this is the Institute of Metaphysical Science, and our website is scientificmetaphysics.org. Go check us out. Check out our what's available. Yes, Betty?
I just wanted to say the new Rethink Quarterly has just come out and it is terrific. I recommend everybody get a copy and read it.
That's one of our newsletters. So that is the newsletter that goes out. So if you haven't subscribed to that yet, super reasonable to do so. And you can get it by mail or by PDF delivered to your inbox. So if that's something, and it is a really good one this time around. So, all right. Till next time, we'll see you next week at 5 o'clock Pacific, 7 p.m. Central. And until then, stay cool, be consciously aware, and march on.
Bye.
Bye.